Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of American Hammers TV. I'm your host for this evening. I'm taking the place of Lee, who I believe is the usual host on Sunday nights, and I'm taking a step back from our Thursday shows to do some Sunday ones. I'm with Zach as well. Zach, have you hosted a show before?
No, I was interviewed in July, and I was on like 2 weeks ago with my radio podcast co-host Kyle.
Okay, cool. So this is the first time you're hosting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome. And then our special guest this evening, Lena Starr. Lena, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So let's just get right into it. A busy week of West Ham football, and we'll talk about all of that. But I'm always interested, especially with fans that aren't originally from England, how you actually became a West Ham fan. Those stories are always interesting to hear the origin of how that happened. So why don't you get into that a little bit and how you started following West Ham?
Me or Zach?
You. Sorry. Yeah, no, you're the guest.
You're the guest. Okay.
No, you're the guest.
For anyone who's heard my interviews recently, because I did a bunch, I've told the story before, so I apologize for if you've heard it. But basically back in like 2011, 2012, I was studying abroad and living in London, and I was dating a guy at the time who was a Liverpool fan. And he took me to see a Liverpool West Ham game, and obviously he thought I would be supporting his team since we were dating at the time. And but instead, actually, when I got to Upton Park, I was just overtaken with the West Ham fans, and especially when I've heard Bubbles for the first time. And it's kind of a weird fairy tale ending in the sense that I kind of fell out of love with the guy, and I fell in love with West Ham, and I've continued my support of the team to this day. So it's just something I didn't expect to happen, but it's just stuck with me to this day.
So how did
go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
How did he take that?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know how he feels about it now. At the time, I don't think he knew. I mean, I don't like at that point. It wasn't so strong that like right then and there. It's like I ended things and I was like, screw you. It's time for me to support this other team. It was kind of a slow love that was brewing for me, and I wasn't too into football at the time. So it was just kind of like as I was growing my love for the game, that's when my growing love for the team, was expanding too. So but I think at the end, he kind of could tell I had no interest in Liverpool specifically. I mean, I have no idea what he feels like to say. If he ever sees this, maybe he'll contact me on an email, maybe one day. But as far as I can tell, he was a little bit bummed that I didn't take to Liverpool Football Club the way he wanted me to.
So what was it about West Ham that drew you to the club? Was it the atmosphere at Upton Park? Was it the fact that we're not one of the big six clubs like Liverpool and therefore aren't as popular?
It's all those things. I think because the atmosphere is very much it's always very it's always very intense. The fans are so into the team, and that's really what it is, the fan base that really got me. And so the fact that everyone is so spirited, no matter what's happening, no matter if we're kind of winning or losing, everyone is really involved. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone has times when we're not doing so great that they almost want to give up sometimes. And they almost want to just say, like, fuck it, I don't want to, deal with this heartbreak again with West Ham. But at the end of the day, they do kind of stick with it. I recognize some people in the comments. I recognize Wally World. Just because I was at an event in Vegas, so it's good to see some people.
Oh yeah. I'm interested. So I'm sorry. Do you live in Vegas?
No, I live in LA, but I was at the Vegas West Ham Way event as a special guest, and that was really fun. So I met a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's good. And I met a lot of people, and I told the story to them too, because everyone was interested in why I was there and why. Because like my affiliation is so different from my regular job, but I try to. It's not that I'm separating the two worlds fully. It's just that people are always interested that this was such a big passion of mine, and I loved it. It was such a great event. So for anyone who wasn't there and who doesn't know anything about it, I mean, you could look it up because they're planning on doing it again next year. I think this time they want to move it to LA.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the event was awesome. I was pretty bummed that I wasn't able to make it, but it seemed like there was a good turnout. Like,
yeah, there was over 80 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it was big. They sold out of all their tickets, and it was for the charity event for Isla's fight, and so the
Right.
charity that's going on now, and it was great. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by looking at some of the comments. That someone said that Lena's the one without the beard, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, but no, it was great. It was huge turnout. There were so many prizes. It was great. The charity went off really well because I really just helped out most of just by going around and collecting donations, but really it was raffle tickets, and but it went off really well, so well that I think everybody got just so caught up in immediately planning the next event, and so that's why we're all still talking about it. And I think everyone who was there can kind of feel the same way in that everyone's sick of us talking about the event because it was a lot of fun. It really was, especially because there were people all over the world. X and Dave came over, and so did Baz. So I got to meet all of them, which was really nice. And then, but also there was people all over the United States that came. Like I got to take some pictures of some guys from New York, and it was great to see people from all over get together just for the team, and the camaraderie was just great.
Yeah, that's for me like one of the things that I love about being a West Ham fan is that it seems like just everyone is just. There's obviously that level of mutual respect because we're rooting for the same club, a club that isn't always easy to root for. But there's just a camaraderie that I don't think you're gonna ever get fully if you support a Chelsea or a Manchester United. I just feel like there's too many fans and the club is too big, and so that's awesome to hear though that it's going well. There were 80 there, you said, right? 80.
Yeah, I think there was over 80 people, like just a little over, because I can't remember exactly. The number in my head is either 82 or 88 or something like that in terms of how many tickets. But that also includes like I'm including the organizers too, and the fact that they got an ex-player to show up too. So it was everybody who was there to organize it as well. And like I'm not counting myself or maybe they did count me in those numbers because there was only a certain amount of people who could be taking up that whole bar where we were at and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, then I'm assuming the numbers will grow for the next event. I know I'm trying to get it in Chicago. LA would be cool too. Just hopefully they don't do the event during a weekend where there's like a 4:30 a.m. kickoff. That's the thing.
Yeah, that would be really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Zach,
and my team in China, Beijing won. Fuck. I hate my Wi-Fi. But they played some games at 3:30 in the morning. And I'm like, there's no way in hell 3:30 in the goddamn morning to watch Chinese soccer. What do I look like, an idiot? Wait a minute. Don't answer that.
No, I know. It's really hard sometimes for me too. I wake up at odd hours to watch the games, and so it is really hard. I know. I mean, I think the kickoff for that game was like it wasn't that early. It was I can't remember if it was like between 8 or 10 a.m. So it was something reasonable.
It was the City game, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
That was the first game. So that was a 4:30 kickoff for you guys, I think.
For us?
Zach's gone.
Oh yeah, this thing was.
He's back.
I can't remember. I don't know why, because I guess I was so involved in the event that I'm just thinking about it. But I'm pretty sure it was the Man City game. But it wasn't that early for us. It was more like 8 o'clock, something like that.
Okay.
So it was reasonable because they had to open a bar and there were still people there having breakfast when we came in. So it wasn't like this for us specifically. So I'm pretty sure it was like an 8 o'clock kickoff, something like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to go to the next event. Like I said, I was pretty bummed I couldn't go to that one, but I'm glad to see and hear that it went super well. So speaking of your fandom, though, when you were talking about becoming a fan, you said it wasn't something where you're just like love at first sight. I love this team so much, and you know, fuck Liverpool. I'm West Ham. So I'm assuming that over time, the love for West Ham intensified and grew. Uh, an American-based fan, how has your fandom changed over time? Like, was it a quick intensification where, like, in like 1 year, you were just always following it? Has that passion grown over time? Like, what has your sort of journey as a West Ham fan been like? Especially given the fact that you said it was 2011 or 2012 when you first
it was around there, so that's quite a while ago. Yeah, I think it's grown a lot more, mostly because of actually moving to LA, because I didn't even realize until I moved here that there were big groups of people in the area that got together to watch the games, and so that kind of intensified. So I went from just watching it, watching maybe like half the games on my own whenever it was convenient for me around my work, to now I'm so involved in it because I go to see it with a huge group of people usually, or whenever I can in the pubs around LA, wherever they plan to see it together. That it's just grown my spirit, as a lover of West Ham, and so I make sure now I don't miss any games. Like, unless I really can't reschedule something around my schedule, I make sure to watch everything. But that has made a significant difference. So the past 2 years, I think it's grown a lot more than anything else, just because I found this newfound, when you're in that environment, that atmosphere of like being in the pub, having it shown on all these different TVs, everyone else cheering, everyone is singing along, singing bubbles here and there. It's just really great, and that's how I learned all these other chants, or and I've heard all these other chants that I'd never heard before, because I'm not watching it, in the new stadium, so I don't get the same. Because I'm trying to listen to what all the different players' chants are, and but now I hear them because I hear everybody else around me doing it. So that's what really grows it for me.
Yeah, I would say for me as well. I think I'd be a West Ham fan without the Chicago Hammers, but I don't. I mean, you never know, but I certainly don't think I would be as passionate about the club if I didn't have that community, going to the pub, seeing the guys, having a couple beers. That makes such a difference. That makes such a difference. And I also think too, just the expansion of the TV coverage of the Premier League, like what it was even 5-6 years ago, is nothing, to what it is now. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But I definitely agree with you on the community and like going to the pub and like just being around the fans. That's everything, that's.
Oh yeah, and I think you're right in that West Ham fans are very different from all the other fans, and so I actually prefer to travel wearing like a regular West Ham T-shirt, so that if someone sees it, it's very easy for me to start talking to someone and not feel weird about it, because it's just, I know that we have a lot in common, and I know that even if it's just a passing comment, it makes me feel really happy, brightens my day. Or, like I can talk really easily to people I don't know very well at the pub, even though I've gotten to know some of the people fairly well. But I don't feel as shy talking to those kinds of people, because I know that we have a mutual point of interest, and but it makes all the difference in the world. Whereas I don't think it does for fans of bigger clubs, because you're right, there's just so many people who are fans of them, and a lot of it, you never know if it's just a popular opinion kind of fandom, or if it's someone who is a really hardcore fan. So, but I think if you see someone wearing a West Ham T-shirt, you know that they're in it because they're just bitterly in love with West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, did you have anything for Lena?
Actually, I want to show something off. The guy at the DC club came, and he brought kids on the program.
What is that?
Hold it up.
Here.
You can see it. So what?
Oh wow.
So what is that?
These are all old programs. Like,
that's
nice.
so cool.
Like this one, hang on, I'm very dyslexic. So like in the 70s and 80s.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's funny. This team doesn't even exist anymore. They folded in 2014.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so he like had a bunch of them, and including, hang on.
Oh, where did you get this, Zach? Where did you get this from?
There was a guy who came to the DC Irons this weekend.
Okay.
And he's been collecting programs ever since he was a young boy and going to games, and he's always just had, and these are all of his spares, and he now has a house in Columbia, about 30 miles north of DC, and he was like, I need to get rid of these. So he came with a bunch. I took a bunch. Everyone took some. And next week he's going up to Baltimore to be with the Maryland Hammer. So if you're in the DMV or Philly or Delaware area, come down. You got a lot of things and a lot of history behind West Ham, and it's just funny to go back and read all these things, because some of these things, like at one point there was our London Cup that was actually when the winner is like all head to head, and it was just like the winner got an actual cup, and what the hell ever happened to that? Is it not? It would be nice to say, hey, we won the London Cup, we won something.
Yeah. I mean, we need to win a trophy. That League Cup showing was that the whole. It just pisses me off that much. We'll get into that for sure. But Lena, before we get into like the season so far, I am interested in if you've been to the Olympic Stadium.
No, I haven't. No,
Oh,
I wish. Okay. That's what I'm hoping for. Is going to hopefully next year to go to London, but it's hard because the most likely event is like hopefully someone will sponsor me and someone will just give me, because I usually whenever I travel for work, it's usually to do a bunch of stuff. Like I'll do a bunch of work in a week, and I mean I'm more than happy to do to go whatever event people want me to go to. And I mean it's easy for me to go to Vegas because all I have to do is drive there, but I can't exactly do the same thing nowadays. But I'm hoping to go next year at some point. If not, like it'll be a little while before I can have the spare change to pay for my own ticket. But and also I don't have really sorry someone's walking a dog outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But but before I can pay for my own ticket and then get a place to stay, because I have a lot of family in Europe, but I don't have anyone who lives in London. So we'll see. Of course, it'll be the first thing I post about, because that's what I get asked most often too. So.
Yeah, I've been to both. Upton Park and the Olympic Stadium. Yeah, it's obviously night and day. I was sitting in Upton Park. I was sitting, forgot which stand I was on, but I was behind, not in the section, not on the side of the stadium where the away fans were, opposite, but I was in the upper deck, probably only 4 or 5 rows from the very, very top. Yet I felt like I was right on the field.
Oh wow!
I felt that there was no bad seat in the house, because it's just the fans are just right there. I could see why it was such a formidable place for away teams to come. Away teams hated going to Upton Park. The fans are right on top of you. You can hear them if you're close enough. Yeah, I mean, it was, and the atmosphere was incredible. We drew that game, I think. But I went to the Olympic Stadium, and it's like I said, it's night and day. So for the first half, I sat in the upper deck, and I mean, the players were like this, just so far away. And we actually played. That was I don't know if you remember the Burnley game where the fans rushed the field. Yep. A few fans rushed the field.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the game I was at, and obviously it turned very negative in the second half. But even when we were playing well in the first half, it was just so hard to get like the chants going. It was just so hard to get it rocking and get it loud, because it's just like such a cavernous place that it just feels like it goes on forever, and it's really hard to get the atmosphere there. But yeah, I digress. I think the Olympic Stadium is definitely worthwhile to visit. And we are playing a lot better there now. I don't think besides the City game, I don't think we've lost that many games at the London Stadium. I think we're doing really well. going into in the chat room, we like to ask some questions for some people. I know you can see some of the questions, Lena. Tebow says, "What is your favorite chant?" You were talking about chants earlier.
I can't recall any off the top of my head, but I mentioned one that I think we should do for Allaire, which would be just to the tune of like ole ole ole, but you just say Allaire instead. And I know X did one which West Ham had reposted, which was just like Issa Diop, and then you know, Yarmolenko. So just things like that. But I honestly can't remember off the top of my head because I haven't memorized the old fashion ones that you know that are you know kind of like putting down other teams. Just because I hear them here and there, and I don't hear them often enough to memorize them. But there are plenty that, like, if I heard them, I could tell you. So if someone knows them, please tell me and give me the lyrics. Because I would love to learn them, and I would love to, you know, shit talk other teams. You know, like I don't know if you guys saw that viral video of a little kid who like was at the Chelsea game wearing the Chelsea shirt, and he's accidentally singing along to like to a diss chant saying like, "Oh, Chelsea rent boys." But the kid is like 9 years old, so he has no idea what he's talking about. And it's so cute and sweet, but sad that he has no idea. And, you know, he's going to look back on this in years and go like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
And, you know, because he thinks it's like, you know, like a chant from his side, but, you know, but not obviously. But so, yeah, I would love to learn more. It's just as of right now, I don't know anything except Bubbles too. And then obviously West Ham Till I Die.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, exactly. So those two are the only ones that I can sing, you know, from memory. Other than that, I just try to sing along to whatever I hear, you know.
Yeah. There are so many. There are so many chants. There's some funny ones too. English people have a different sense of humor, but
so I like it.
I like it too. And they're like naturally good at coming up with chants and coming up with good rhythms. I don't know if it's something in the water over there or what, but
right.
I like
it. Just because they're drinking beer, not water.
Yeah.
What's that?
What did you say, Zach?
Well, they've been doing it for as long as they have. You're bound to learn things from your childhood, and you bring that forward. So it's same thing with British comedy. It's no different than why like Monty Python Flying Circus was so popular for so long, and anything that Monty Python does is just so fantastic.
Yeah, see, I was just saying that that's all the beer that they're drinking. You know, it gives them a lot of creativity when they're coming up with chants. You know.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good thought. I mean they certainly like to drink their beer.
I love that. It makes them very exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even after the Burnley match, which was awful, we still like went to the pub afterwards, and fans were, you know, still having a good time. Obviously, alcohol was involved, but it's a great, and I think going back to what we were saying before, like it's about the community, it's about the fans. Right? There's like a quote that says like football without fans is nothing.
Jack Stein. It's a Jack Stein quote. It's on one of the Celtic kits. I think it's 12-13. On the inside of the Celtic crest is that quote.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Because Jack Stein was the famous manager of Celtic. He won the European Championship with Celtic in '67, the Boys of Lisbon, and he's well known and well hailed. Now, if you bring up any Rangers fans, he's going to tell you a whole separate story, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's a whole other sidetrack I don't want to get into. But he came up with that because he's dead on balls accurate.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't know it was in the Celtic badge. That's cool. But it's true. It's true. And I think it's a running theme that just, it permeates throughout all of soccer, not just English soccer, but, you know, throughout the world. I got another question. I think it was earlier in the thread. It was about the women's team. So, Lena, I also know that you tweeted recently about the new uniforms, which are pretty fire. They're really sick. So do you follow the women's team at all? If
Not
so,
as much. Okay. So I only watch a game here and there, and but I haven't been following as closely. But I know that they're like someone said about the growing popularity. They are I know that they're playing very well. Unfortunately, one of the few things that I know, that the only context that I've heard about the women's team is really just like when Arnie was still playing for us and he was giving them a hard time. That's the one thing that really comes to mind, which is unfortunate because that's not a very positive thing. But yeah, no,
he was like being disruptive in their practices,
and
right?
just being disrespectful and just misogynistic, which is like what there's no reason to do that. Just let him play. Like they're West Ham too, so just leave him be. So I just thought that was so that's one of the few things that comes to mind when I think of the women's team. But no, I don't watch them as much, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't think that women's version of sports is less important than men's or anything like that. It's just that this is the team that I've been following. I mean, I'm biased in that I like certain players on our team more, so that's why I tend to watch our team. And obviously, it's a growing support for West Ham in general. So of course, in a weird way, you're going to support the team that's more watched, just so that you can try to encourage other people to watch West Ham games anyway. And so most people don't start off by trying to encourage people to watch West Ham by encouraging them to watch the women's games. You would encourage them to watch the men's games.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Men's team has more visibility. But the cool thing is that the women's league in England is growing in popularity. I think the ladies had their first game ever at the London Stadium this past weekend.
Yeah, actually today they lost 2-0 to Tottenham. I watched it. It was
today.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a very good crowd. I was very impressed with the crowd. There was an atmosphere, but it was more of a laid back, casual sort of thing. Like you're going out to watch cricket. They were more interested in what was the game like. And West Ham had a good showing. Don't get me wrong. They had chances, they just could not capitalize. And I think some of that has to do with the lack of a striking option that we have. We have some great midfielders, including the girl from South Korea who can't remember her name. But we don't have a solid attacking option. Like we can't get a good cross, and we can't this close to scoring. And it was just Wally said 25,000 in the stadium.
Yeah, that's a really good amount.
Yeah, that's a solid amount. 25,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Lena, you were talking about some of your favorite players. I was interested in who those guys are. So who are the guys right now that are that are make your favorite list?
Well, I will say you look a little bit like my favorite player, who's Fabianski, and who I'm praying dearly that he is going to recover sooner than later. Because when I saw him, strain, and I think someone said, that it's his hip more than his thigh or something like that. And so I'm hoping that, with the international break that he'll recover and he'll be good to go. It's not, but this is a huge point of controversy, at least like on my Twitter, which is hilarious because I think people must get sick of me talking about football all the time. How, with Fabianski out for a little bit until he recovers that Roberta had to go in. And people give him a hard time. Even I do, but you gotta treat him like any other player in that if you don't back them, if you don't get behind them, they're just gonna perform poorly. Like I think that it really affected Rice's playing at a certain point when people were talking badly about him. I mean, granted, I think that the shit talking started after he made some errors, but then it didn't improve when people were just talking down on him. And so likewise, you can't just highlight the negative things that people are doing because it's just going to make them keep performing poorly because they're just going to, you need the fans to back you up, but we're a team that's notoriously pessimistic. So I think that the fans only want to talk shit about players as soon as they make a mistake. But let's just hope that everything goes well.
Yeah, I'm looking up some things regarding Fabianski. I don't know. I think they need to do some more scans. It's not really.
Neil is saying that he's getting scans on Monday. That's what I heard too. So you can't really say what's going to happen until we get the results back, which I understand. That's why I'm trying not to. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm trying not to jinx myself. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is, if it is a long-term thing, we have a great training staff. If we look at what they did with Yarmolenko and they completely rebuilt him, and they rebuilt him to be the new Yarmolenko, and he's fantastic now. And we're seeing what Yarmolenko can do, what we were supposed to do with him last year, but now we're getting this year, and I'm happy with it. I'm thrilled with what he's done.
That's a very good point. You're right. Yeah, we do have a very good training staff. That's what I've heard from everyone. Like as a secondary measure from X, that our training staff is really good. And so everyone who's had injuries, is improving. Like I mean, even Landini's, playing good. I mean, granted, it took him a long time, but yeah, it's just I think that's a really good point. Thank you for saying that. I'm trying to get my hopes up that everything will be okay, and it sucked. And I know that Antonio's on the mend, and he's gonna be hopefully back soon. He right? I'm not going crazy, right?
No, Antonio's out till I think about Christmas time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, it's that long. Okay, I thought it was gonna be like sooner.
Which is why Yarmo's been in the lineup more, and I actually like Yarmo more than I like Antonio in that role. Because
I do too, but I think Antonio's improved though. That's what I was going to say was becoming one of my other favorite players for a while because I thought Antonio's improvement was very remarkable, and I think we owe a lot of that to Pellegrini because I mean, you can't say that it wasn't you can't discredit or not give credit to Pellegrini rather to not have made a huge impact on our players. And Antonio's improved a lot. So has Anderson. So has Cresswell, and all those players I think are performing really well. I mean, I've always had a really soft spot for Snodgrass. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I think he's hilarious and he just
sounds Scottish Messi.
Yeah, he just sounds like he's a drunk Scot all the time. So it's just and he said he got in trouble for saying something like for swearing at some people who I think were I don't know, trainers or something like that. And he's like, that's just how we say hi, like that. It was just like banter, but he was swearing really harsh at them, but he was just like, but it was no big deal to him. And I just think it's really funny. Plus, I like to watch the behind the scenes, and I've seen that him do like 2 Truths, 1 Lie, and it's really funny. I don't know. They're really great guys. So maybe, but that it's hard for me to separate sometimes how much I love someone and how good of a player they are. But he's one of the exceptions. He's great all around, always.
Yeah, I think Antonio, he had really improved. Even last season too, I thought he improved basically since Pellegrini came on. And up until this point, he had actually stayed pretty healthy for over a year, which is something, he had struggled with injuries, including really the hamstring is that, and that's his injury now as well. He's had hamstring issues, and this one was bad. He had to actually have surgery. So that usually means that it tore enough where it probably came off the bone or pretty darn close, or I don't know if it's the bone. Something bad happened.
Yeah.
Yarmolenko's been great. I actually did not like this. I did not like this signing when we signed him. At the time, I obviously eat my words now. But yeah, he's been playing extremely well. I mean, knock on wood that he.
Yeah, right. I think that they've been playing very well. I mean, you can obviously because they've been scoring, a fair amount of the goals for the past few games. Minus that butchering that we had at Oxford, but I agree. I think you're right. I didn't really rate him when he first started, and now I think that he's playing really well. But then again, I used to rate Arnie a lot, but even though he's a shit person, so
Yeah, he was a good player, definitely our best player, but he was obviously an ass.
Well, it's funny because I'm a Russian football supporter. I'm a national team supporter. I went to the World Cup last year, saw Russia for the first time, cried my eyes out. But I swear to God, it's true. But
I would too. Don't worry.
Russian footballers are known for being very picky. Andrei Arshavin, in a game when he was playing with Zenit, he didn't want to play, and 15 minutes of the game he faked it during the rest of the game. It was a Champions League match. It's a big match for Zenit, and that's what he does. And so I've heard other stories like that from other Eastern European players and teams and things of that nature. So when we signed him, I was like, if we can keep him happy, we'll be fine. We'll work this out. And to have him happy, that's paramount for us. To having him be successful here in.
I mean, you're right. As an Eastern European myself, I find that to be a very common thing in my culture too. You're right. Especially for men, you got to keep them kind of in good spirits or happy, or it's almost like dealing with like a drunk adult or a baby. You know, it's like as soon as their mood changes, you know, everything kind of goes to shit right away. So
Alex Seven, to go to hockey for a second. When he was with the Caps, his first year he was great. Like 2, 3, 4 years with the Caps, he was fine. And then he went downhill fast, and he didn't play defense. He wouldn't speak English, and he didn't give a shit. And he was traded, and everyone was like, "Why you trade him?" Because he fucking didn't want to be here. And then he went to Russia. Now he's a captain in Russia 10+ years later.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like there's a weird like nationalistic streaks that you have as an Eastern European that like sometimes for lack of a better reason to fight with someone, you just fight because like you want to, you're different, and not that you are different, but you like your own people more than everybody else. Like even when I came to the country with my parents, like we just stick with our own people more. And for some reason, like you just feel almost like targeted. I know he said a lot of stuff, like he felt like people like Noble was calling him out for mistakes when he was talking to the team as a whole, and he would just start talking shit for no reason, and like they would be at odds, and it's just ridiculous because you can't just have such a huge ego in the game, because at the end of the day it's a team sport, and that's how you end up fucking up games, in my opinion, is that like you end up having such a big ego and you want all the credit, and you want to and when you should have been passing, you should have been crossing to another player. Instead, you want all the glory, and you just feel like you're on like a one-man team as opposed to it being a team sport. And that's what I tend to see from a lot of very egotistical strikers, which is what Arnie seemed to me for the majority of the time, and even Carroll sometimes is like that. Well, when we had him,
So what do you think of Arnautovic's replacement, Allaire? What are your thoughts?
I love Allaire. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's great. I mean, he's just been. I think it's phenomenal how well he meshed with the team, like from the beginning. Like I feel like he didn't need that much of like a period to settle in, which is very rare for at least for our team. I mean, I think that a lot of people need like at least one season or even two to just get better acquainted, know how to play with everybody else. And Allaire just kind of knew exactly like where to go and how to work with everybody, and that's really amazing. Like that always made me very happy to see in every single match. I mean, even with the assist that he had with Yarmolenko in the last game was incredible. I mean, it was ridiculous how he did that kind of like backward kick, and kind of how he like knew that he would be there, and that's something that you have to rely on your teammates to know that they're going to be there, so they're going to know how to do their job. Which not to badmouth him, but Chicharito used to screw up a lot. He used to like his one job was to be there, and he would screw it up or he'd hesitate or whatever, and like the dynamic between Allaire and Yarmolenko seems to be really good, and just Allaire and everybody else seems to be great. I just feel like there's just great camaraderie, and there's no animosity, and he's just meshing super well, which is really good to see. And I think Fornals is getting there. I think he's just learning how to play in the Premier League. So he's going to improve, but he's not. Obviously he's nothing like Allaire has been since the season started.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I actually, you can like go back to some of the old school American Hammers videos. Like I was rating Allaire over Maxi Gomez. I mean, I was still going to get behind Maxi Gomez if that was the guy that we were going to end up siding, because, in Pellegrini we trust. But I always thought that Allaire, like you mentioned, that he is really gels with the team well. He sort of knows where everyone else is on the field. He makes the simple pass. He doesn't try to do too much. He had great assist numbers in Germany. And something that you also said, I think you said it about Fornals, is that a lot of people, including Fornals, which I agree with, take time to adjust to the Premier League because it's a little more fast paced than your other European leagues. Definitely a lot more physical. I did not worry about Allaire having to have that time to settle in, because, I mean, if you look at the guy, he's just built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 6'3", like 210 of just
like
muscle.
Diop, like he's very tall, long legs, so he knows that he has that size and strength and capability, and
Right.
he doesn't hesitate. He uses it, and he doesn't have any fear on the pitch, which is what I like to see.
Yeah, and I think he's been playing so well for us. He keeps the ball so often, holds the ball up so well. Where a lot of the times, like if you had a Chicharito out there, for example, there's no way you're keeping those balls. There's no way Chicharito's making those simple passes. Like the Yarmolenko goal, the assist. It was such a simple pass that resulted in a goal. I mean, sometimes the simple things is what works the most. But speaking of like the performances so far, so seven matches in. Yeah, 7 matches in, 12 points. We've only lost once, and that was to City. What are your thoughts so far on the season? I mean, I'm assuming you're thrilled with the results so far, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think we're doing very well. I knew that. I'm really glad that we drew in the last game, because I knew that it was going to be. I didn't know which way it was going to go actually after the Oxford game, because I felt like we had such a clean sheet going for us, and everything was more almost, but we were just, the morale is really what it is. It's just the positive vibes in the West Ham club were just really pushing us forward. And I think that was propelling our I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Just basically just our rap sheet in terms of how well we were doing with every game. And then with that blunder that we had, to put it nicely, I just wanted to make sure that everyone, I mean, it was not just the fans. I just wanted to make sure that the teammates, or that all the players weren't going to be discouraged in the next game, because I mean, we're so notorious for just having one thing fuck us up, if we're doing really well, and then we just go downhill from here. And that's not what I wanted to happen. And so the fact that we kind of have this like middle ground right now, where I feel like we didn't just then immediately lose the next game horribly. And I think that we're kind of trying to recover all that positive energy and that morale that we had going for a very long time, which is very important, because I think that the team is almost like maturing in a way, in that they're not letting losses go to their head as much as they used to.
Yeah.
And because that used to be a huge thing for us. We used to just, I mean, I don't know if it's because like we have such a strong fan base, and so what the fans say about the players can really get to them, and how everyone feels about the team can maybe affect them. I'm not sure if that's 100% it. Obviously it has a lot to do with the manager too. But I think that we're doing very well, and I think we can. I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst, but I think we're doing much better than we were last year. So that's the best thing we can say.
So I saw on Twitter on Saturday morning before the match, what would be more West Ham, to beat Man U 2-0, lose to Oxford 4-0, and beat Bournemouth, or beat Man U 2-0, lose to Oxford 4-0, and lose to Bournemouth? I'm like, guys, it's not. This is a whole new team.
That's true. Yeah.
There's in Japanese baseball, there's a concept of wa, and wa is Japanese for team harmony, and you don't find that in many sports. The 2018 Capitals had it. The 2011 LA Kings had it. Not a lot of teams have it. I believe that the Hammers are actually starting to get it. I really believe that we are developing wa. And if you have wa, if you ask any Japanese baseball historian or a fan or whatever, you have wa, you're going to win the tournament. You're going to win. You will win. You will overcome everything. So,
yeah, I think a big reason that we have that wa is we got rid of Arnautovic. I really think that was massive. I think he was a cancer in that.
Yeah, bad egg for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And I'm sure the guys. I know Noble was always trying to get on his side, and you could see it on the pitch. He was always sort of, I don't know the best word, like always had his arm around him, was trying to be a good captain and try to make sure his attitude and his emotions were right. But I definitely think that guy leaving is one of the better things that could have happened this summer. Plus, it also gave us money to get Hilaire, who is an upgrade in my opinion.
He is not only a forward, but he's also an attacking midfielder, all in the same person. He gets the ball, he wants to distribute the ball and get a run in, or he wants to get the ball and he can shoot the ball if he wants. He's like in basketball, you get the power position. You can either pass it, or shoot. He's doing that immediately, and no one knows how to defend it well. And this is great going forward.
And just to bring it back to what you're saying, I felt like with all that drama with the China deal, like Arnie was becoming like an Antonio Brown. He was just causing so much drama for no reason and just taking the focus away from the actual game. Like there's no reason to have all this shit happening that has nothing to do with the actual game of football. I mean, in the sense that like he's just making it about himself. He's trying to control where he's going, all his money, and trying to make it like he's like hot shit, and it's just ridiculous. And look where Brown is right now. I mean, last I heard, he said he's retired from the NFL and he's not going to do anything.
Well, he's now part of 9 complaints against the NFL, and the NFLPA will put him in all 9. And so that's going to take forever. But as far as playing another down in the NFL, he's probably never going to play again. But Arnautovic reminded me a lot of that whole end just reminded me now of Payet, and how that whole last half of the year that we had Payet, that was just hell on earth. Hell, we don't want to be here. We want to be back in France. And he was just kind of like, get me out of here. So
yeah, and you can see it in like they're playing, because players who just don't want to be there, they phoned it in when they're playing. Like you see them walking around, they just kind of don't give a shit. Maybe they'll try to put it in because they want to show off. If he finally starts actually running when he's trying to strike. But other than that, he looks like a lazy piece of shit on the field, and it just puts everyone's morale down, because it's like we're still like. I mean, it's like when you put in your 2 weeks at a job, you're still supposed to work. You're still supposed to put in your effort. You're not supposed to just say, well, I'm leaving anywhere, plan to leave anyway, and so fuck you guys. I don't care about anyone except me. I'm number one, and there's no one else, just me against the world. It's as though it's not a team sport. Yeah. And that just no respect, And I think you're right. With Payet and with Arnie, it was a similar situation. There's just no respect.
I really loved how the team handled it too. It was just the first sniff in the summer where we heard that Arnie may want to leave. They just did it. And the club just put out a statement. Marco Arnautovic sold. There was no thanks, for everything. It was just boom, done. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, and then also, and Wally made a good point. He's saying that Anderson looks so much happier without Arnautovic. I didn't really notice this last year, but
I didn't either. But it's a good point. You're right.
Yeah. Neil seems to agree too. Arnie. I definitely saw Arnie throw his arms up, but I think Wally makes a great point in that not only did we get an upgraded striker in Hilaire, but I think a lot of the players are going to just play a little more freely, play a little more happily or happier. And it goes back to that harmony thing, right? Everyone seems to just gel a little bit. Everyone seems to be getting along. I definitely think it was the best thing. I did believe that Arnautovic would come around. I was wrong. Maybe I was just hoping that he would come around, because I honestly thought that.
Believe me, I thought the same thing. I thought he would come around. It was wishful thinking, because we wanted everyone to be happy. We want a happy little family.
Plus, I thought we'd be fucked if we lost him. To be honest, I was nervous about that, because I thought we had gotten rid of Carroll, we had gotten rid of Lucas Perez. I said Chicharito is probably going to go, and if we don't have, we won't have a striker. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, they did it. The club did a great job, not only at getting rid of Arnautovic, but quickly getting that money and then finding their striker. I think what really impressed me the most was when we realized that we weren't going to get Maxi Gomez. We got Hilaire within a week, maybe not even a week. And it was just like, all right, second target, boom, we're moving on. We're ready to go to this guy. Ever since we hired that director of football, Mario Husidos, the transfer policy has just been superb. Absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Absolutely
No, I
superb.
agree. I think that's right. I was worried too, believe me, because it's like when you have every other position down, but you don't have a striker, and it was very nerve wracking for a while. And
Yeah.
I also heard that because and this goes along with the new stadium, and I had just watched Ironman recently. But that apparently, like, we had been looking at Allaire a few years back, and he didn't want to come to our club because, I guess, part of it was just because of our stadium. Like, we just didn't look like a big football club, and that had at least something to do with his decision. And so now that we have grown as a team, but also that we have like a professional looking stadium, and that's what they talked a lot about in the movie, is that a big part of the investment, I mean, in terms of emotionally, I guess, in moving to the London Stadium, is that you want to look professional. You want to attract these bigger players, and you don't want to look like you're a team that is only buying, cheap, I don't know how to phrase it, $3 to $7 million players. You want to attract, new fresh blood, and the only way you can do that really is to look like you are a professional team. And appearances, unfortunately, are very important when it comes to attracting players, or even attracting big sponsors or whoever it is that you need to make sure that we grow as a football club. So I mean, that when I heard about that for with the whole Allaire situation, I think like that makes a lot of sense. And no wonder, and like he meshes really well. So I think that he had been thinking about the team. He has been watching us play. So no wonder he meshed really well when he started playing.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think a big appearance factor, or a thing that has made us appear to be this big club, is having a big club manager, having a world-class manager in Pellegrini. It's a statement of intent, and players are going to want to play for him as opposed to David Moyes. No disrespect to David Moyes, but he's not a world-class manager. He's not a Premier League winning manager. That's Manuel Pellegrini, and you want to play for a guy like that. You want to play for a champion. Totally agree. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's just something I only found out not that long ago. Just I guess I can't remember who mentioned it to me, but I just thought it was a very interesting, like kind of like side talk about like I don't even know if like Allaire mentioned in an interview or something like that, but it was just when I heard that I was like, oh, this makes sense. I mean, when players who just felt like it wasn't the right time then, are feeling it's the right time now. But that also has a lot to do, you're right, with Pellegrini now being the manager and him being someone who, I mean, he's proven time and time again that he has made significant changes. Like, he didn't, he's not a miracle worker, but but to a degree he is. He's done amazing things for our club. And so I really like him. Plus, he just looks so fatherly. So to me, when I see him, I just feel like he is the type of guy who's almost like noble. Like, regardless of his actual love of West Ham itself, like he loves his team right now. So he feels, I'm sure he seems like he feels really strongly about the players, and he cares about them. And I feel like I see him all the time with his arm around players, and he just looks more friendly than any other manager I see in any other game. Like, they're always like angry and being ridiculous, and he just, even if he does get upset, he just kind of goes like, like throws his hand up, like, but then he just kind of waves it off, and he focuses more on keeping their morale up and making sure that they don't get discouraged. And I think it's very important. I know Noble does the same thing, and I think that goes a long way with, at least in West Ham.
Yeah. Plus, Pellegrini has quite the head of hair. I really.
Oh yeah, that majestic little, blow dried
head of hair.
Beautiful. You're right.
If I can have even something remotely close to that when I'm 65 or however, I mean,
right?
It's prime. It is prime.
Yeah. No, he's great.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm interested now. This is a question to both of you, because Zach, I want your input as well. So we've established that we're playing well this season. We've listed out some reasons why. Moving forward, I know it's still a young season. We're not even 20% through the season, I don't think. What are your expectations, though? Like, where do you think, based on our start, like, where do you think we could end up finishing? Do you also see a cup run as a must this season in the FA Cup? What are your expectations for the rest of the season, given how well we've started so far?
I can go first.
All right.
I've talked enough, so.
Okay. I mean, if we keep this up, we're going to be fine. If we keep beating the teams that we're going to need to keep beating, we're going to be fine. I talk about this a lot on my podcast, guys. Take a listen, please. We are doing a great job, and even in the next couple of games, Crystal Palace, Everton, Sheffield United, Newcastle, Burnley, Tottenham, Chelsea, Wolves, Arsenal, Southampton, and that brings us to Christmas. I only see 3 trouble games here, and that is Tottenham, Chelsea, and Arsenal, and that's it. There's no reason why we cannot get a bunch of points and keep up this high climbing. And by the Christmas time, the media's looking at us going no different than the way they looked at Leicester when Leicester went on their title run, and they're just and out of nowhere it's Leicester City. They're on top of the leaderboard. It's out of nowhere it's West Ham. They're up top. What the hell's going on? And everyone starts ripping their hair out in England because no one predicted this. And the guys who predicted it went to William Hill or wherever and made a bet, and now they're going to be out thousands of millions of pounds.
So where do you think
I honestly,
we should be?
If we stay healthy, which is the big problem with us, if we can stay healthy and we can stay the way that we're playing, and if we can keep this up, there's no doubt in my mind that next year we're going to be in the Champions League, or even in Europe, for that matter.
Are you saying that we're okay? So you're saying that we're finishing at least top 7 this year, in your
That's what I
opinion?
believe, yes. But that means that we're not going to have a deep FA Cup run because we don't have a really solid bench. Ajari, he's not playing well. I really would like to see Ajari go down to the U23 team, get a couple games in there, hone in his skills in the English game like Ken, and just we just don't have that good of a backup squad to put in there. But if we can focus on the Premier League and then next year work on doing a cup run, if we wanted to, we can finish top 7. We can be in Europe, and we would have when was the last time we were in Europe? 1990 what?
Well, technically we were in Europe after the last Berlin season because we were in the qualifying rounds.
Actually make the group stages, not playing games.
Yeah, no, I don't know the last time. It's been a while, maybe before I was born. Okay, yeah, so your European expectations. Lena, what about you?
Well, I thought the same thing. I actually did this similar prediction in another podcast where I said we would finish in the top 7, and I was being optimistic, and I think that at the end of the day, we're West Ham, we play what we play, and I think we're going to continue to do very well. I think that especially with the last match, I think we've shown that we know how to kind of bounce back when we come to adversity, and so I think that shows a major improvement on the team when it comes to our playing, but also our maturity level in that we try not to get anything negative get to us, and that shows. And for me, that is a great projection for how we will finish and where we will be in the future. So I agree with everything Dak said. I think that we have a really good chance.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you too, in that we have a good chance to get top 7 for sure, especially with some of the big 6 clubs looking like they may underperform a little bit. Chelsea, although they're playing a little better than I thought they would, they're still missing that top guy like they had when Hazard was here. He's gone. They're a little less talented, although still talented. Arsenal can be up and down. You never know with them. Tottenham look to be not their normal selves this year. And then Manchester United, this may be the worst Manchester United team in
So they announced on Wednesday that they are in a rebuilding year, which in English means you're failing and you admit to it. But for
exactly.
Rebuilding year, it means finishing 10th. For us, that's laughable. For them, it's hell on earth.
I know, right? That's one of the good things about being West Ham, though. At least knowing that for them, they're, they were probably crying themselves sleep every night. For us, if that was us, we'd be like, well, that's just that happened to us.
And back to drinking we go.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you're right. It's totally different. But it is weird to see. And I think what you said was right. Like as long as we stay healthy, because one of the reasons why I think especially against Manchester, they were missing a couple of their players, and as long as some of these other big teams, like I mean, we can't count on them to not play as well as they do. But if they don't have certain players because they're injured, that does work in our favor, especially depending on the timing. Meaning if they're not there when they're playing against us. Then I think that also works in our favor in the long run, obviously. But we can't just rely on that, But likewise, also I think that is a good point. We don't have the best bench, but it's also not the worst we've had.
That is true. I'll give you that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I can say is like that. But I think it's good that Pellegrini is letting some other younger players start and giving other people who are usually on the bench or not even on the bench who have never even had a chance to get a chance to play, so that like they get more practice, and so that way we can build up a good bench, like in the off chance or possibly really good chance that someone gets an injury, like Wilshere, who is injury prone.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that we do have we have good backup.
Although there are some people on our bench that I never, like Carlos Sanchez, I never want to see him in a West Ham shirt again. The league. It was a poor performance by him. Now, it wasn't his fault that we lost in the League Cup, but I mean, those are the games where Pellegrini gave some of those second string guys a chance and they failed miserably. In my opinion, I really want a cup run. I really want to get excited again. I want to get into at least the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Obviously, the draw can determine if that's the case, but we need to play our best players who are fit all the time. We're only in the FA Cup in the Premier League now. In my opinion, there's no reason to play our bench players in the FA Cup. We need to go for it. And speaking of Europe, I definitely agree with you guys that we can get top 7. It would be great. But you guys have mentioned our bench, our lack of depth. If we were to make Europa League next year, we would obviously need to sign guys in the summer, but I mean, we would need an extremely, like at least 2 or 3 more decent players that could play and could start for us in order for us to have the depth to the Europa League and Premier League next year. So if we didn't get top 7, I don't think it'd be the end of the world personally for me. I think next year is the year that we should really be aiming for top 6 every year. That's just like how I think this rebuild's going, but I digress. I obviously would love Europe, but I really want that cup run too. I really want to lift the damn trophy. We haven't lifted one since 80 or 81. I want a trophy. I want to give me the goddamn trophy. That's what I want. But we'll see.
There was an article. I don't remember which paper it was in. It was after the Oxford loss, and it said that West Ham is the second worst trophy dodger behind Tottenham, and I'm like, oh. And what's your point here? I'm like, sure, we're not the same team that we were in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Sure. But at the same time, we're trying to move forward. We're trying to get to the point where we win a trophy that's worth something, that we get into Europe and people actually remember our name. And it's not just, oh, that team that Payet used to play for or Arnautovic used to play for. Oh, the team that won the World Cup in 66. Whatever happened to them?
Yeah.
We shall see. So we're a little bit past the hour mark, so we'll wrap this up. But Lena, what we do at the end of every show is we have these quickfire questions that we ask our guests. I'll simply just ask you these quickfire questions, and there's 11 of them. But like I said, they're quickfires, so not too in depth. But you ready?
Who goes first?
Well, we usually only ask our guests. Although Zach, since this is your first time on the show, at least hosting, you should answer too.
All right.
Okay, so Lena, meat pie or apple pie?
Apple pie. I know.
Zach?
Apple. Who really wants a meat pie? I mean,
I don't know. Some meat pies are good, man. I don't know. Who is your favorite current West Ham player?
Fabianski.
Noble. I actually own a game used jersey. That costs a small fortune.
Yeah.
Whose jersey?
Noble.
Oh, yeah. Those jerseys are not cheap.
Yeah, we auctioned one off at the event. It was not cheap.
Yeah, mine wasn't cheap either, and to get it from the UK over, it was just a nightmare. And I learned my lesson. Look, I'm glad that I got it. It's going on my wall when I finally have a space to frame it and put it on my wall. But it's one of those things that I need to stop spending that much on jerseys. Although there are a lot of game-worn jerseys for a lot of random teams on eBay. Believe it or not, that are less than $1.
Interesting. Okay, who frustrates you most in the current squad?
Probably Sanchez, because I don't like him. So
yeah,
our defensive backs. I'm yelling and I've been yelling and on the podcast. I've yelled and screamed and all throughout the beginning that we need better defensive backs. In January, we need better defensive backs to speed up with these top class teams. And if we don't get strong defensive backs, then we're not going to do well. And that's not going to help us.
FA Cup or top 6 finish? This is sort of what we were talking about before.
Yes, top 6 finish right now.
At the beginning of the year, I would have said FA Cup, but now top 6.
Yeah, that's exactly.
What about West Ham do you love?
Everything. Is that an okay answer? I can't help it. I love Bubbles. I think probably Bubbles is what I love the most.
Zach?
The people. It's guys like you. It's guys like in the comments. It's guys that I talk to on Facebook all the time about this. They're just such nice people. Like when I was in Russia, I was over by Red Square, and there's a guy in a West Ham shirt. And I saw him half a mile away. And as we were walking back, they come on, you Irons. And we embraced in the over by Red Square, and everyone just kind of looked at us and went, it's like, if you're not a West Ham supporter, you won't get this.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get that, we're from different places we have never met, but we immediately bond over it. Exactly. Right.
It's not like the Egyptian fans, which were from all over Egypt and all over the world, that, sure, they have the Egypt to bond over, but other than Salah, there really wasn't much to bond over, and the Argentines just beat the crap out of each other about the plot from Boca Juniors, so...
Yeah, no, that's a heated rivalry for sure. What about West Ham do you hate?
I guess our unpredictability and the fact that you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just a roller coaster. It's one of those death roller coasters that you get in a nightmare. That you're going straight down and going through 55 loops, and you hang upside down for 3+ minutes, and by the end, you want to throw up and pass out.
It's also a very toxic relationship with someone who you love dearly, but you keep having major fights with, and you keep breaking up and getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, but you can never leave them. But that's not to say it's not healthy, because at the end of the day, it's not a person, it's the football team. But that's the only way I can describe it. It's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually love the unpredictability myself.
Yeah, no, it's a rush too, but in a good way, because I feel like, as we were saying before, unlike, one of the top 6, where we don't rely on them to win all the time. We just hope that they do. And at the end of the day, we still love them.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a good point. Neil says the negative supporters is a bad thing. Yeah, I hate negative supporters.
They're very and in the Facebook group that I'm an admin on, it just gets very bad to the point where after the Burnley match, we said no more negative supporters, no more negative about West Ham. Well, this is a positive place. We want to keep it positive. If you want to be neutral, you can be neutral. If you want to point out a negative point, you can point out a negative point and make a legitimate argument for it. But don't just say, we suck. We fire everybody. Fire Pellegrini. Because the first...
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for anyone.
All it does is stirs the pot and rages more fires. And we don't want that. We're not practicing witchcraft.
Yeah.
Next question. What sound makes you happy?
I guess the bubble chant. That's the anthem. Yeah. Always whenever I hear it. I was on Twitter and not long before we started, and Baz posted something he said he was in a supermarket. And he was in, what was it, Costco, I think he said. And he was like, went in Costco, like entertain people, and he started playing the song on a keyboard. And like, it's just so great because you can immediately recognize it, the tune right away. And he only did it for maybe like 5 seconds, and I recognized it immediately. And it makes me feel so happy because it's a very uplifting song, even though it has a very mixed message, But I always try to think of it as a positive song, so I love hearing it.
Cool. Zach?
Well, first off, when you're in Costco, you need to clean them out of free samples because they never. By the way,
I'm sure Baz did. Don't worry.
If it's on a toothpick, you can take it free.
Yeah.
Now try to do that with a $1,000 bottle of whiskey. It's not going to work so well.
Yeah, no.
To enter my Inter Telemundo commentator. Go!
Oh yes. Okay.
I've been watching a lot of the Liga MX at night just because it's on and it's fun to watch, and I love hearing them scream that.
That is really great, yeah.
Yeah, I love the sound I love the sound fans make when their team scores a goal. That's probably especially if like West Ham's away like they were to Bournemouth, and I watch the highlights and you hear the fans scream, but you can't see them because they're in the away section tucked in there. I'm a big fan of that sound for sure. Okay, my phone just went off. What is the next question? Okay, next question is, what is your favorite curse word?
That's a great question. I don't know. I like saying fuck a lot, but I try to keep it on to a minimum because you never know who I'm talking to. Like whenever I hear anyone from England talking, they are amazingly good at using other very varied curse words, and I wish I could adopt more of their saying. I mean, so I would love to adopt more. But yeah, I think I say fuck more than anything else probably. But how about you, Zach?
I say fuck a hell of a lot more than like 2 years ago. Probably shit, just because that's my go-to, and I've got more trouble with it more with my parents than anybody else.
Yeah, I wish I had an English accent because I love the way it sounds whenever they say things like wanker, tosser, but it only sounds good when it's coming from someone who has an actual English accent. Obviously, I do not. I don't even have my Polish accent anymore, so I just sound pure American.
What team do you love to beat?
Tottenham.
Any of the teams from Manchester. Name a player, past or present day, that epitomizes West Ham United.
Bobby Moore.
Noble.
That's true. Noble. Well, that would be my present answer. My past answer would be Bobby Moore.
Bobby Moore. Absolutely. And then the last one. If you could take a time machine back in time to experience anything having to do with West Ham United, where would you take that time machine to?
Zach can go first.
Well, the 1923 FA Cup final, when we had 125,000 people at Wembley before Wembley looked like this, which is the way that Wembley should always look and the way that Wembley should have always been and never should have been redone. But to get 125,000 people to a soccer match is insane. Because there's only one stadium that's active in the world that has over 100 that can fit 125,000 people in it, and that is in North Korea.
Cool. 1923 FA Cup final. Lena?
Well, honestly, I think I wish I had been there for the last match at the Boylan. It's not even that long ago, and I was still alive for it. I just wasn't there. So, but I was like crying watching Iron Man. It was so sad. I just felt like such a dork, but it was just so moving to see everything, and obviously the fact that they made the stadium, it's such a special event. They had all these, like goodie bags going out. Plus, everyone was just it's all anyone was talking about. Plus, it was just such a great game. They kept talking about a huge center of the movie was this like 100-year-old West Ham supporter who was there at the match, and it was great. So, but also yes, I would love to go back to the 1923 as well. So it's everything. But I also like, this is not as West Ham related, but I would like to go back to when Bobby Moore was playing for England, he won the World Cup. So that I would like to see that too. So all these big things.
Interesting note about the final match goodie bag. A lot of people were trying to sell them at the games on eBay, and they put them on a one-day auction. And I was watching some of them go up, some of the bids. Some of them got up to like £3,600 before they started. But this was like within 2 hours, and bidding started to get really crazy, and it started to go like 6 digits. And at that point, eBay flags the listing and say, because something's not right here, and they go back to their last certified bidder that was actually bid on it, and that was some bot somewhere. So it went back to the people still made a ton of money off of it if you sold it, but it's still not something that it was very, very popular on eBay and the eBay UK page. They blew up over it. No different than the Bobby Moore shirts that were given out on his birthday last season.
I can't remember, but I would assume the only thing that I would really think about is that last match check. That's a once in a lifetime thing to give out that set. Whereas like the anniversary, not the anniversary, but his birthday is every year, so they could always have that. So it's not necessarily a one-time thing unless they change the design. But yeah, that's crazy. 6 digits. Holy shit! I should have gone. Now we do need a time machine. I could have made money off of that, not even just getting predictions for lottery numbers.
Yeah, Lena, I actually would have gone back to that game as well. Just seeing it on TV and like the emotions that I felt at the pub in Chicago. Those emotions would have probably been magnified tenfold, being there.
Especially when you see like the fact that the roads were kind of closed down, like the team couldn't get off the bus. It was just great to see all of that in the movie. And because I had at the time I don't know if I don't think I was watching the game. I don't remember what I was doing, but to watch that, like I can only imagine what it was like to be there. Because even just watching the movie made me so emotional. So I can only imagine what you felt like watching at the time. Getting pushed off by whatever, like 45 minutes or whatever it was. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was pissed that they pushed it back. But true story, my roommate that year was a Man U supporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so he was watching it in our room. I was watching, we had a common room that I was watching it on. When we went down, I was like, and so he was like, ha ha. And I was like, shut up and watch. And when the third goal went off of Reed's head, I got up and started screaming. And at the end of the match, he got out of his room and he walked out. I didn't see him for like 3 hours. I was so pissed. Calm down. It's the last game where I'm going to have you. You're going to have at least 50 more years of Trafford before you do it.
Exactly. Give us one thing, Jesus.
All right, guys. We've gone way over an hour, but it's been a great conversation. The time definitely has flown by. But Lena, many thanks. Thank you so much for. Yeah, it was really, really nice getting to chat with you. Zach, really enjoyed hosting with you, man. Nice meeting you. I'm sure we'll talk more.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can get 3 points versus Palace. I freaking hate Palace, so it'd be great to get 3 points. But again, yeah, Lena, thank you very much. And then thanks to all of you guys watching right now, keeping the chat room lively. Really appreciate it. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.